Dunbar number is a cognitive theory that suggests that humans can only uphold a certain number of stable relationships, and that number is about 150. Beyond that, our natural social structures built on familiarity, reciprocity, actually begin to fray because we just can't keep up. And this is when we start to categorize people as strangers or other, because we don't know them and we don't know where we stand with them. We don't know their value, they don't know ours. And think about it. If you live in really small communities, you can't get away with being a jerk because you're going to see those people every single day. Your reputation is everything. And if you make other people feel good, then you know that you're guaranteed to stay in the group. But in modern, large-scale societies, we're surrounded by strangers all the time. In fact, the majority of our interactions are probably with strangers or acquaintances. It might not last that long, but we are often in this mode of interacting with strangers, whether we're driving in traffic, going through the supermarket, walking down the street. All of these things add up so that we're constantly safeguarding. And this general lack of familiarity in our daily lives can trigger a sense of unease, which again makes us put up walls and makes us become more defensive. We are social safeguarding in order to become self-protective, and it actually makes us start exhibiting more and more antisocial behaviors. It is stressful to be around strangers, and when we constantly feel like we have to safeguard, we get in the habit of it, and it even spills over into our interactions with people who we do know well, who aren't strangers. Basically, we're in an environment that feeds this feedback loop of acting like we're constantly around strangers, and it stresses us out. And in order to do this, we have to become aware of it and think of different ways that we can try and elicit a response of safety and make it easier to interact with life. Let me give you a real example of how this stranger danger mentality can play out in the real world, and how this led me to realize how I needed to take responsibility to make sure it was easier to see less strangers and to make more allies. So it was a couple of months after I'd had this epiphany about gratitude. I'd been playing the game of the gifts, I was turning challenges into opportunities, and I was really liking the way my energy was building and how well I was moving and how life was going in general. And I was at the gym one day and I was doing an exercise where I was doing balancing, I had some dumbbells in my hands, and I was supersetting it with an exercise on a bench. And as I'm in this extremely focused state, doing something very challenging, this guy comes up and throws his phone on the bench that I'm planning on using, that I feel like is very obvious that I'm about to use due to my proximity to it, my bag being close to it. And I think, well, that's odd. I guess I'm kind of annoyed, but I'll just tell him that I'm using that bench. It's not a big deal, but I'm super focused on this exercise. I'm gonna finish doing it. And this guy comes back and glares at me to, how dare I have the audacity to not move away from his bench and stop everything I'm doing and get out of the way. And in the moment, I had this huge reaction because it was New Year's and I thought, this gym noob doesn't know what he's doing. He has no gym etiquette. He has no respect for someone finishing their set. I'm doing something challenging. Who does he think he is? No. I get really upset. And I turn around and I look at him and I say, I was actually planning on using this bench and I'm going back and forth between exercises, but because you seem so entitled to be able to use it, here you go. And I lifted up the bench and I kind of threw it and scared him a little bit. And I immediately felt awful about it. And I thought, this poor guy is probably doing some New Year's resolution. He finally had some time to go to the gym and he sees me and he probably thinks that I am jacked and strong and maybe entitled and scary. And I realized that he had no idea what I was about because I come off a certain way based on how I look, based on my facial expression, and based on his personal experiences of what I'd gotten so caught up in my own little stranger danger that I hadn't realized that this guy also perceived me as a stranger and was just in a reactionary mode, like we all are so much of the time. The experience hit me hard and it gave me an idea. It's our responsibility to make it as easy as possible for others to read us well, to project our energy and our safety, and to extend grace to others who might be too stressed out to do that themselves or to even read the more subtle cues of someone. So the antidote to stranger mode is about choosing connection. This lesson had really hammered home something I'd read earlier in the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's the idea that criticism, contempt, and complaint will make people offensive or defensive, but it won't make them receptive. Gratitude, appreciation, credit, praise all make people receptive and they think that you are safe. And when people feel like they belong, they want to work with you, not against you. And as soon as I started to lean into this, strangers started to become my allies. Now, this is great because it all builds a more harmonious society. It's really great for team building and it's really great for just in general relieving levels of stress. But even when we come back to this idea of how does this boost my physical performance? How does this change the way I move? Why is this a holistic sense of high performance and allowing us to tap into our greatest physical potential? Because again, happy people move differently than sad people. Connected people move differently than disconnected people. And every time we see a challenge, we see something that triggers us, and we see something that upsets us, if we see it as an opportunity for more connection, for more growth, and for more stable emotions, every stranger that we meet has the opportunity to become an ally, just with a smile and with a little bit of grace. And if we avoid making enemies and have more allies, and our environment becomes fuller and richer and safer, then it makes it easier for us to be at our best, perform more creatively, and tap into our greatest physical gifts. That being said, there's some people that are just difficult, but we do have to take accountability for our half of any social interaction. And the next section has an exercise that is going to help you figure out what is your responsibility and what is not.